war is not the solution of anything. It's curse for mankind, for nature, for everything. Hi, I'm Anil Agarwal from aapkesawal channel. Welcome to our show, Kateryna Martynenko from Ukraine. You are a banker and a brave fighter who is fighting against Russia for the sake of your nation, Ukraine. Did you ever imagine that your country would go through such a terrible period of war?
I'm pleased to give you an interview. I'm a citizen of Ukraine. I'm 46 years old. I'm mother of 3 kids, and I'm a wife of an officer of Ukrainian army. Of course, none of us, none of Ukrainian citizens would ever imagine such a terrible things. Ukraine has been fighting with Russia for 51 days so far, starting from 24th of February 2022. But actually the war has started much earlier. The war has started 8 years ago when Russia invaded Ukraine, when Russia occupied some territories of Lugansk and Donetsk, and when Russia occupied the Crimea. And during all these 8 years, the conflict was permanently holding, and we used to say that the war is in its course during 8 years so far. But I have to tell you that Ukrainian nation has been fighting with Russians much longer. During all course of history of Ukrainian nations, Ukrainians has to prove that they are independent state. And if we take 30 years of independence since Ukraine became independent in 1991, in 20th century after the collapse of Soviet Union, Ukraine was building independent state, and all our goals were European goals. We were building European nation, a European state with a law, with values which are in line with European values. And it is stated in our constitution that Ukraine is moving towards European Union and Ukraine is moving towards NATO. So for us, this war, like 51 days of war, which started in February, was not a surprise, because we know who is our enemy, and Russia spent a lot of millions of money trying to destroy Ukraine through secret agents, through insufficient and unprofitable commercial contracts with the gas, and so on. So this war was not a surprise, but of course it is a shock for us how Russians are fighting and which ways they are using, which methods, terrible methods they're using in this war. They are breaking all international war convention, and using chemical weapons. They are destroying civilian buildings. They are destroying schools, nurseries, and thousands of Ukrainians have been killed. Innocent people have been killed during this war. So of course we never expected that this such war would happen on our land.
Mrs. Kateryna, every citizen of your country was ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of their nation, including you. So what motivates you to do that?
Citizen of Ukraine is ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of the nation, including me, including my husband, and I actually have my brother who is serving in the Ukrainian army also, and he's an artillerist and he's been at the front line for 1 month since now. So what motivates Ukrainian people? I have to tell you that our motivation is that we are on our land has been invaded, and we are fighting for our freedom. Putin announced a genocide against Ukrainian nation. There are many articles in official Russian newspapers and websites explaining the reason, so-called reason for Russians why they invaded Ukraine. And there are no logical reasons, there are no economical reasons, there are only reasons for Ukraine as a nation to be destroyed. He declared so-called denationalization of Ukrainians, which means that everything Ukrainian should be destroyed, like language, like tradition, like all our wills to join a European Union. He's against it, and this is the reason which he tries to explain to his people, to Russian people, and many people, they do believe it, because for many years, as I told you, since 2014, when the first stage of this war has started on the Donbas and with Crimea, Russians prepared step by step, layer by layer, these propaganda materials. And they made up some stories about nationalists in Ukraine, about Nazi battalions, but it's all fake. We never invaded Russia. We never were thinking to destroy any Russian military or civilian objects. And the only thing we want peace to be on our land. We want our kids to be raised in Ukrainian culture. We want our kids to speak Ukrainian language. And we want our kids to remember their grandparents and their grandparents, to remember the history of Ukraine. If Putin will win, we will lose the state of Ukraine as it is. And this is true, that his intention is to destroy everything Ukrainian which we have. I personally know many my colleagues who went through occupation of Russian army in Kiev region and in Donbas region. And for example, some people who managed to escape from Mariupol, and the only way was to escape to the Russian side, to the Russian border. They been forced to go through so-called concentration or clearance camps. In these camps, all these people, Ukrainian citizens, they ask if they are belong to, let's say, police, municipal police, or if they belong to some political parties, or if they are, for example, teachers of Ukrainian history or Ukrainian language. And these people, the destiny of these people is unknown, because not all of them managed to go through these clearance camps. So that motivates us to fight in this war, because this is the war for us in which we have no rights to lose. We either win or we will not exist as a nation and as a country.
Russia is more powerful than Ukraine in every aspect. So do you believe that it's possible to win your freedom back?
Well, we don't believe that Russia is more strong. We know that the motivation of Russian soldiers is very, very poor. Many of them been forced, Russian soldiers, they've been forced to go to Ukraine. The generalists and commanders of Russian army, They don't value their people, their soldiers, and we know many cases when injured or dead Russian soldiers been left over, laying on the ground. They don't even bother to pick them up. We know that many of Russian soldiers came to Ukraine with the only motivation to rob houses, to take whatever is valuable that they would be able to sell in Russia or Belarus. And there are many proof that some of the Russian forces that been in Kiev region and which they already left the region, they've been massively sending different stuff, different goods, which they grabbed from the houses of civilians, like domestic things, like washing machines, like kettles, like toasters, which is unbelievable. But you have to understand that mainly the people who go to Russian army, they're very poor. There are people from all over Russia, from small villages, and for them the salary of the soldier like equals to $500 is big money, and this is the only motivation for them. But in contrast, our army, our soldiers, our officers, they are motivated because they have to fight for their families, they have to fight for their land, they have to fight for their houses, and they have no right to lose to Russians, because this is the war for existence of Ukraine.
It's a huge social reformation that women are taking part in this war. What prompted them to do that?
Well, what I have to tell you about the role of women in this war. Historically, Ukraine is a kind of country where the role of women are very high in society. We have a quite equal rights for men and women, and it is, of course, you can see everywhere, like there are many women in business, there are many women in government, state functions, and of course there are many women in the army. Traditionally, many women are doctors, helping, of course, now saving lives and rescuing lives of those who's been wounded. There are many women who are joined volunteering movement because, like me, for example, my husband is serving in the army. He's an officer, and I know that I have responsibility to help him, to help others. And a part of the time that I spent looking after my kids and working, because I'm still working remotely, I'm of course spending time for some volunteering initiatives. So we are not dividing like men or women. Everybody should defend their land, and everybody should stand together. And I'm sure that the most difficult time is for those women who had to leave Ukraine and who had to go abroad, because it is prohibited to cross the border for the men from 18 years old to 60 years old. And some families separated because women had to go abroad, saving their kids, going to the safe places in Europe, to Poland, to Romania, to other countries, and their husbands, their fathers, their brothers are staying in Ukraine. And of course this is I think the most difficult situation, because a part of the stress from war, a part of the stress from being moved to another country, you have this stress of not being next to your family, next to your husband or to your son. And I hope that and many of those who are abroad, many women who are abroad, they also helping. They are volunteering, spending their free time in volunteering centers, sorting humanitarian sort of stuff and so on, raising money for charity to help Ukrainian army and to help Ukrainian people. So I think it's quite normal for Ukrainian society that the role of women is quite high and women are mainly very active. I have to add to this question also that what, except of the Ukrainian army, give us the confidence to say that we are much stronger. Not only military people, not only officers and soldiers are fighting. There is a huge army of volunteers who is helping the army, who is helping the civilians who suffered from the invasion. The whole nation now is alert, and the whole nation now is helping each other. It's huge, really unknown before volunteering movement, where people sharing their houses with refugees from other regions, where people donating money to the funds which are supporting equipments to the and buying equipments to for the army, and buying humanitarian stuff for those who is in need. You know that we have many people relocated within Ukraine. There are about 7 million people relocated internally within Ukraine, and there are about 3 million people who moved abroad. And all these people, they are in need. Like my family, for example, we had to move from Kiev first days of war, because I have 3 kids, as I told you, and I have my mom who's 72, and I have my mother-in-law who is 74 with me. And we couldn't stay longer under the air siren. It was very difficult for kids and for my mom and for my mother-in-law to stay in the bombing shelter. So we decided to move to the west region of Ukraine, and when we been provided, some other people, just ordinary people, helped us, and we're staying in their house. And that is such an example. And there are many examples like that, that gives us a confidence to say that our nation, that our army, and that our people are much stronger than Russians. And I'm sure that Ukrainians will win this war, because all nation is united and all nation is helping each other.
Is every citizen of your country against Russia?
I have to tell you that I will not lie to you if I say that every Ukrainian citizen now is against Russians and against Putin and against Russia. Because the level of grief and the way we are suffering from this war is not leaving any chance for any Russian to be loved by Ukrainians. Let's so say loved, yeah? They just didn't leave us the chance to be loyal to them. The way they treated our civilians in Bucha, in Irpin, in Gostomel, is only giving us reasons to hate our enemy and to fight against them.
What are the difficulties ordinary citizens are facing during this wartime?
Of course, the most terrible things, it's a humanitarian crisis which is happening now in those regions occupied by Russians, which are Donetsk and Lugansk region. It's also Kharkiv region, and all those small cities and villages that are along the front line. Because to some of these cities, we don't have, I mean, Ukrainian authorities, they don't have a freely success to deliver food, to deliver hygiene product, to deliver even water. So in these cities, especially those people who didn't manage to evacuate, because there are always people who don't want to leave their houses and they decided to stay no matter what is happening with them. So there are stories that people had to melt snow from the street to get water for them to drink. So of course this is the most terrible thing in this war, that a lot of people, a lot of civilians are suffering from humanitarian crisis, and not only they have to be safe, I mean physically safe, they have to be in a place where the bombing will not kill them, but they also need some food, they also need some water, and this is the main problem which is now our volunteering organization is trying to solve. And the state of Ukraine, these services, social services which are dealing with this problem, they're trying to deliver goods to these regions. Very often these people are risking their lives, even driving these cars with these humanitarian goods. It's very risky, but a lot of people, they do it because they understand that they have to help others in need.
Mrs. Kateryna, did you get reasonable help from other supporting countries from which you were expecting help during this crucial period?
We've been receiving, I mean, Ukraine as a state and citizens of Ukraine and Ukrainian people, we've been receiving a lot of help from different countries around the world, starting from humanitarian help and finishing with the weapons and military stuff for the army. And we are really grateful to those countries who's been with us since first days of war. These countries are like Poland, first of all. This is the neighboring country to us, and Poland people been standing together and supporting Ukrainians and helping a lot. Not only by sending some goods and military equipment to Ukraine, but also by accepting refugees from Ukraine. The biggest number of refugees from Ukraine being moved to Poland. There are about 1.5 million people are now staying in Poland, and Polish people are helping them a lot, providing them support, providing even psychological support, even support concerning the providing the food, and Ukrainian kids are going to Polish schools together with Polish kids, and this is a lot of help. Secondly, of course, Baltic countries been helping a lot. These are those countries, I mean, Estonia, Latvia and Litva. These three countries, they are former Soviet Union republics, and they know how terrible the Soviet regime was to them, and they have the empathy to Ukrainian people, and they also help a lot. For now, of course, the most important help is coming from United Kingdom, from United States of America, from Australia, even from Canada, which is recent news, that these countries are providing heavy weapons for Ukraine, and this is what will help us to win this war, because we not only need defensive weapons, but we have to have heavier weapons to be able to get rid of Russian army from the territory of Ukraine, which they occupied illegally.
Do you think war is the ultimate solution?
I think the war is now, unfortunately, is the only solution to destroy regime of Putin and to destroy criminal Russian state and those elites that are taking part in this criminal case, invasion of Ukraine. We hope for sanctions against Russia a lot. We hope that more sanctions will be provided to weaken Russian economy, because it is really unthinkable that other European countries can still pay for gas and for other Russian products, and this money then goes to buy military weapons, bombs, which are then used against Ukrainian civilians. So for now, unfortunately, at this stage, the war is the only solution, and of course with the help of sanctions against Russian Federation.
Any message you want to give the other countries through our channel?
Using this opportunity, I'd like to tell you, to ask you to support Ukraine the way you can support it. Even reading the news, even thinking about those people who are suffering, even sometimes even your pray could help. Of course, if you have an ability to donate, if you have an ability to send some humanitarian aid, medicine, hygiene products, like any products that could be really vital for small kids, that would really help. And I would like to tell you that even if you don't have money to donate to this for these purposes, but even if you read the news, if you keep informed about what is happening, if you are thinking your critical mind to analyze news coverage from Ukraine, that would help a lot, because Ukraine now is not alone. Many countries are supporting Ukraine, and I'm sure that we will win with the help of the whole world. So I'm asking you for support.
Mrs. Kateryna, do you think and hope that Ukraine will again be re-established as a prosperous nation?
We all believe that this war will finish soon. Of course, we're not doing any forecast how long will it take. We're just doing our daily job and doing the best whatever we can do to win this war. But we are even now starting to think what we need to do to recover our state, to recover Ukraine. Because the war, it was a very beautiful country with talented people, with educated people, with 43 million of population. And first thing that we believe we need to do, I mean, Ukrainian authority and Ukrainian active society, is to recover the economy, to save working places for those people who stay in Ukraine, to attract investments to Ukraine. But it will only be possible if the new form of military security will somehow be organized for Ukraine. I'm not talking about NATO, but I'm talking about some other unions with powerful countries who can guarantee their safety and who can guarantee that this kind of war will not happen again in future. Because as you understand, money and investments are only coming to those countries where it is safe and where the situation is stable. So Ukrainians are very talented, very motivated people. Ukrainians are patriots, and I believe that it will take short time to recover Ukraine and to make it great and to make it beautiful again. So our kids would be living in this country, not in any other countries in the world.
Mrs. Kateryna, what is your personal opinion about the leadership of your President Zelenskyy?
My personal opinion about our President Zelenskyy, that he's managing his duty at the greatest level that he could. When he became a president of Ukraine, he would never imagine what kind of tasks he will have to take and what kind of level of responsibility he will have to deal with. There are many Ukrainians who didn't vote for Zelensky at the president's election. I personally voted for opponent of Zelensky, for Poroshenko. But the level of progress Zelensky showed during this 51 days of war is unbelievable, because I don't know how can he manage to deal with it, but he showed that he's a strong, responsible person with the great values, with a great level of responsibility, and he's a true leader to our country now. And all Ukrainians are now united to support our president and to support all the tasks we have in front of us, which is the victory over Russian Federation.
Mrs. Kateryna, we are very pleased to have you with us for this exclusive interview and feel blessed to interview such a strong and devoted woman. In this difficult phase, you gave us your precious time. Thanks.
I'm very thankful for this opportunity to answer the questions and to share with you, to share with the people who subscribe to your channel my thoughts and my experience of this war. I wish it would never happen in my country, but now we have to deal with it, and we have to be strong, we have to fight, we have to work every day for our victory. And I'm personally very thankful for you, for this opportunity to get attention to Ukraine and to the war of Ukraine. And I hope that could be, after this war will finish, that will be any other perfect reasons and perfect issues to be discussed. If you have any questions, you can reach me on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn page, and I would be grateful to answer any questions you may have. And thank you very much.